The children are safe as long as the family is rooted in religion and says the Lord told them to do it or moves them. But then they get arrested. Let's talk about it. They 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 talk about it. Welcome back to She Could Talk the Podcast. I'm your host, Gangalee. Hey, and that's Gangalee on all streaming platforms. If you want to check out my music, look for the glasses, look for the locks. You tell me if I can rap, okay? But over here on YouTube, on She Could Talk the Podcast, this is where I react to everything. I react to news, sports, crime, musicians, politicians, YouTubers, TikTokers. If they're talking about it, we're talking about it, okay? Okay. Now, I am in the news side of my algorithms, okay? This happened in Florida. So, where I'm at in Florida. But I wanted to share it with you all because I know I have a mixed bag of subscribers out there. Shout out to you all. And thank you all for continuing to help us grow the channel because without you, my channel ain't nothing. I appreciate you all. I thank you for hitting the like button, the subscribe button, turning on your notifications, and just joining and telling a friend. I definitely do appreciate it. But back to the news on hand. So a couple of days ago, this came across my algorithms in, just several algorithms, I guess because I'm in Florida. But then what stuck out to me is what made me want to react to this story. Now, to my subscribers out there, I know I have a mixed bag of subscribers. You all can range from musicians, music lovers, hip hop, sneakerheads, to deeply rooted in religion. And I'm with you all. This is my bag. So you all over here with me, right? But I do have a group of subscribers that are here particularly for my IAG farm reactions, right? And a lot of people that don't agree with me reacting to IAG farms would say, why do you always want to be on this family? Like, mind your business, get some business. They're not doing anything, right? So this is no way in shape or form about IAG farms per se. But what I wanted to do was to highlight something that came across my news recently. And you guys join me in the comments and tell me if anything about this story sticks out to you or sounds oddly familiar. Then in addition to that, right, don't get discouraged by the color of the people charged, the suspects, the criminals, their race. Don't get discouraged because all the children in their care were black. All the children in their care were black. Okay? So we all know that there's a lot of our colored children that are in foster care, brown and black babies, that get snatched from their homes, right? Put into foster care or put into hands of people like this because guess what? They'll look at this family and say that they're better than possibly the family they were born into. Who knows, right? But let's get into the story. I'm not staying here long. And you tell me, are there any things, is there any red flags, any nuances that stick out and possibly could remind you of another family? Hint, hint.
Tonight, a local family faces charges accused of using children as workers and even locking one in a cage.
The investigation in Columbia County started after a tip at a church led to 9 kids being rescued. A report says the children were not educated properly and didn't even know their full names or their birthdays. Action News Jack's Yona Gavino is live at the sheriff's office in Yona. There are lingering questions now for DCF.
They are, Tanika, and tonight investigators are still piecing together how this alleged abuse went on unnoticed for so long, and this all started with a tip from a church camp about a teenager carrying a taser, and that's when authorities say it blew open a much bigger story.
All right, now she's going to go into the story, but I'm going to give you a little background. They've adopted these kids, right? Adopted these kids. They basically shroud themselves in religion. So they're a deeply rooted religious family up in Florida. And they are able to adopt these kids because of that, because they are religious, right? They keep these kids as workers. I'm going to rewind it for you because I'm telling you, it's right out the gate.
There are lingering questions now for DCF.
Wait.
Children were not educated properly. led to 9 kids being rescued. A report says the
Black
children were not
kids.
educated properly and didn't even know their full names or their birthdays. Action News Jack's Yona Gavino is live at the sheriff's office in Yona. There are lingering questions now for DCF.
They are, Tanika, and tonight investigators are still piecing together.
These kids were farmhands. They did not know their names, their date of birth. They weren't educated. Sounds familiar?
How this alleged abuse went on unnoticed for so long, and this all started with a tip
Religion.
from a church camp about a teenager carrying a taser, and that's when authorities say it
Did you see what it took to get this to break open? But let's continue.
blew open a much bigger story. Hidden deep in the woods, a makeshift clubhouse spells out the family name, Griffith. It is the same name now tied to child cruelty charges, including physical.
Just look at their setup. Look at their setup where they have these 9 children. They got the hideout camper, the trailer, mobile home, right? On a little piece of land that the kids work daily. A lot of coincidences.
Charges, including physical and sexual abuse. Deputies say 9 children ages 7 to 16 lived here in isolation. The arrest affidavit says some couldn't read, others didn't even know their birthdays. Jill and Brian Griffith, along with their adult children, Dallin and Liberty Ann, are all facing charges. Investigators say at least one of the younger children was sexually abused by the couple's 21-year-old biological son. Other children described being beaten with a cane and
He looks like he should not be around children. And I'm telling you, I can tell when people shouldn't be around children.
sprayed in the face with vinegar as punishment. But the most disturbing allegation involves a 14-year-old boy who deputies say was locked in a homemade cage, built under a bunk bed with plywood and 2x4s. When we visited the property, the only sign of life was a black cat. There's something unsettling about this place. It is eerily quiet, aside from the occasional sounds of insects and birds. And it is right in the middle of the woods. Although you can see there are signs that children live here, the court documents paint a very different picture of the reality they lived in. So I went to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Branford.
Did you see they had a baseball net? They had some like things hanging from the tree. Very minimal toys for 9 kids to be up in there, in my opinion. Very minimal toys.
To get answers. The court documents say a tip that a 16-year-old boy had a taser at church camp cracked open a bigger case. And a follow-up interview at the church was where a woman told authorities the couple primarily fostered and adopted African-American children who were not nurtured but were treated like workers. I spoke with a defense attorney who tells me this case is still...
You notice they got the details from the church, right? So the church saw something and said something, okay? But what happens to families and children that don't interact and don't socialize their kids, right? It takes even longer for this type of abuse to come out, in my opinion. What saved this family was the 16-year-old. He brought a taser to the church camp, a taser. And that taser triggered red flags, of course, because like, who you tasing? Where did you get this? They called police. Police intervened, went down there, found 8 more kids being tortured, farmhands, and one locked in a pine box underneath the bed. Why? All black children that were adopted, and they gave this family these children because they were deeply rooted in religion. Do you see this?
in its early stages.
There are federal statutes that prohibit trafficking individuals between jurisdictions for purposes of either sexual behavior or other types of work-related behavior, indentured servitude, even really, in a sense, slavery. That is definitely a thing that is criminalized, and rightfully so.
Okay.
Building and growing a fan base is key to any artist's career.
Okay. So ultimately, let me see here. And that was in Jackson County. But right at the beginning, And I'm talking to a specific set of my subscribers, but any of you all, because if you've seen anything like this, or if you see any nuances of something that could potentially lead to this, you never know. You never know. That's why we can't just be like, oh, mind your business, turn a blind eye, look the other way. We really can't. If they would have said, hey, this kid is bad, right? He went to church, clearly crying for help, because some people might say, hey, I need help. Some people might act out or lash out as a cry for help. So clearly this kid brought a taser to the church camp as a cry for help. Now, suppose that church would have said, oh, bad black kid, send him home. We don't want him around here. He's banned, right? Then that would have been a punishment or action taken directly towards that kid without possibly looking into a bigger picture, like what else is going on here. But this church did the right thing. They did the right thing. They saw that the kid had a taser. They took it for what it was. This could potentially mean something else. They got the police involved, they got authorities involved, and they were right. They were right. They also circled back to the church, and the church confirmed, yeah, the other kids are not nurtured. They don't know their names. They're basically workers. They're slaves. Sound familiar? But people will say, oh, mind your business, at the expense of kids, right? But then you know what happens when we leave kids in bad environments like this? They grow up to be bad actors, meaning that they grow up to be bad contributors to society. Look right now, we're seeing people getting violently stabbed in Walmart, randomly shot in New York, ran over in wherever, you know what I'm saying, plowing through crowds at parades. People, there's a lot of bad actors out there in the world because the children that they were once were not nurtured or cared for, my opinion. The 16-year-old, how long was he abused before he opted to take a taser to the church camp? How long do you think he was abused? Okay? And now he's at the point where clearly he's ready to either well, in my opinion, he's clearly ready to abuse someone else as a result of what was happened to him or what has happened to him. Because that's what happens. You become a bad actor and then you want to reciprocate what someone else did to you. You want to pay it forward, I should say, and do it to someone else. So I just wanted to share that with you. Very short story. Look it up. Florida adoptive family arrested. 9 children removed after abuse. And it says alleged abuse, but it is confirmed that it was sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse going on down there at their ranch in Florida. Look it up. So why again? And these are black kids, right? Because that's another thing we as a black community do. We'll see the news, we'll see those white faces, and we'll be like, oh, those are not our kids. When 99% of the time they are. They're our kids that are being abused and tortured and adopted and tortured. And then there's sometimes they're just born into their regular families and treated just like this, living just like this. And we're supposed to turn a blind eye to it because they say, in the name of the Lord. Well, look at this. The church busted this wide open. All right. So I'm going to leave it right there for y'all. And y'all join me in the comments. Did y'all see any similarities? Was I reaching? Was I trying to build a bridge where there was one needed? Or they say where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, so I'll leave that there. And until next time, y'all, you know the brand, you know the motto. If you like anything I do, tell a friend. If you don't like anything I do, tell a friend. And from my lips to your ears, I love you. But I need you to love me. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, turn on your likes or hit the likes. Join me in the comments and share it with a friend. Okay, until next time, it's your girl Gongalee, and this is She Could Talk the Podcast, and I'm out. Peace. They talk about it. They talk about it.